Admiral John Hayes stood tall on the bridge of the UES Defender, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The vast darkness of space stretched before him, broken only by the distant stars and the approaching lights of the Altarian warships. His weathered face showed no emotion, but his mind raced with calculations and strategies. "Status report," he said, his voice calm despite the tension filling the air. Lieutenant Olivia Rodriguez looked up from her station. "All 17 ships are in position, Admiral. The Altarians will be within communication range in 5 minutes. 17 ships against hundreds. The odds were bad, and everyone on the bridge knew it. The Altarian Empire had conquered 3 star systems in the past year alone. Each time they followed the same pattern: arrive with overwhelming force, demand surrender, and crush any resistance. "All crew to battle stations," Hayes ordered. "Let's show them humans don't scare easily." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency. No wasted motion, no panic. They had trained for this day, even if none of them truly believed it would come so soon. Humanity had only achieved faster than light travel 30 years ago. They were newcomers to the galactic stage, their technology considered primitive by most alien standards. Commander Peter Mitchell approached Hayes, speaking quietly. "The special preparations are complete, sir. General Collins reports all systems ready." Hayes nodded slightly. "Good. The Altarians need to see exactly what we want them to see." The massive form of the Altarian flagship appeared on the screen. It was enormous, easily 5 times the size of the Defender. Behind it, hundreds of warships moved into attack formation, their weapon systems already powering up for what they assumed would be a quick and easy victory. "They're hailing us," Rodriguez reported. "On screen," Hayes replied, straightening his uniform jacket. The image shifted to show the Altarian commander. Krasthar was tall and imposing, with gray-green scaled skin and 4 yellow eyes set in a face that resembled a reptile. His uniform gleamed with medals and symbols of rank. "I am Supreme Warlord Krasthar of the Altarian Empire," he announced, his translator conveying his words with a metallic edge. "You will surrender your planet and all its resources immediately." Hayes stepped forward. "I am Admiral John Hayes of the United Earth Defense Fleet. Earth does not surrender to threats or intimidation." Krasathar's upper eyes narrowed, while his lower ones scanned something off-screen. "Our scans show you have only 17 warships, defending your entire system. This is amusing." His mouth stretched into what might have been a smile, revealing rows of sharp teeth. "Perhaps quality matters more than quantity," Hayes replied evenly. This caused a rumble of laughter to spread across the Altarian bridge. Krasathar gestured to someone off-screen, and the view widened to show several other Altarian officers, all clearly enjoying what they saw as human foolishness. "Your species truly is as primitive as our intelligence suggested," Krasthar said. "Even the Felnari put up a better defense, and they barely had mastered spaceflight." Hayes remained expressionless. "Is there a point to this conversation, Warlord, or did you just call to boast?" The Altarian's amusement vanished. "You have 6 Earth hours to surrender. After that, we will destroy your fleet and then bombard your major cities until your leaders beg for terms. This is generous. I usually only give 3 hours." "We'll be ready for your answer in 6 hours," Hayes replied. The screen went dark as the Altarians cut the transmission. For a moment, the bridge was silent. "They really do love the sound of their own voices," Mitchell commented. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. "Arrogance is a weakness we can use. Status of our visible fleet?" "All ships reporting ready, sir," the tactical officer replied. "Shields at maximum, weapons hot," Hayes nodded. "And our real fleet?" Mitchell checked his secure tablet. "General Collins reports all units in position. The asteroid belt is hiding them perfectly. The Altarians did a standard scan and registered them as mining equipment, just as we hoped." Hayes walked to the large tactical display at the center of the bridge. It showed the true situation, not just the 17 warships the Altarians could see, but the thousands of small dots hidden throughout the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. "Send a secure message to all ship captains," Hayes ordered. "Operation Hornet's Nest is now active. Maintain current positions and keep the Altarians focused on us. In her command bunker beneath the lunar surface, General Samantha Collins reviewed the final preparations for battle. The large underground facility hummed with activity as technicians monitored thousands of signals coming from the hidden fleet. "All drone squads report ready, General," Lieutenant Diane Powell announced. "Power signatures minimal. Stealth systems functioning perfectly." Collins nodded with satisfaction. The Altarians have no idea what they're facing. Dr. Alan Ferris, the lead engineer on the drone project, looked nervous as he studied the real-time data. 3 years of work, and now everything depends on how they perform in actual combat. "Your drones will work, Doctor," Collins assured him. "Every simulation has shown that." "Simulations aren't reality," Ferris replied, running a hand through his thinning hair. "The Altarians might have technologies we haven't accounted for." "That's always a risk in first contact situations," Collins acknowledged. "But from everything our intelligence has gathered, they rely on brute force, not subtlety. Their sensors are designed to detect large power signatures, not our distributed network." On the main screen, they could see the Altarian fleet spreading out surrounding Earth's small defensive force. The aliens were clearly confident, taking their time to set up for what they thought would be an easy victory. "They're laughing at us," Powell observed, watching the enemy movements. Collins smiled grimly. "Let them laugh now. In 6 hours, they'll be singing a different tune." Back on Earth, in the underground Global Defense Command Center beneath Denver, President Laura Bennett met with her Security Council. The room was tense as they watched live feeds from both Admiral Hayes's fleet and General Collins's drone command. "The deception is working," Secretary of Defense William Nash reported. "All Altarian attention is focused on our conventional fleet." "And if the drones fail?" asked the Vice President. "Then we fight with everything we have," Bennett replied firmly. "But they won't fail. This is humanity's moment to show the galaxy what we're capable of." As the 6-hour deadline approached, Admiral Hayes ordered all crew to battle stations. On the bridge of the Defender, the mood was focused and determined. "The Altarians are hailing us again," Rodriguez reported. "Right on schedule," Hayes noted. On screen, Krazathar appeared, looking smug and already victorious. "Your time has expired, Admiral. What is your answer?" Hayes stood up straight, his voice confident and clear. "The United Earth Defense Fleet declines your generous offer of surrender, Warlord. We suggest you reconsider your position while you still can." Krazathar's expression shifted from smugness to genuine amusement. "You continue to entertain me, human. Your small fleet against our armada? This will be over quickly." Hayes simply smiled. "Size isn't everything, Warlord. You might be surprised at what humans can accomplish when backed into a corner." The transmission ended and Hayes turned to his crew. "All ships, maintain defensive positions. The real battle is about to begin." In the lunar command bunker, General Collins gave the order they had been waiting for. "Activate all drones. Operation Hornet's Nest is a go." Throughout the asteroid belt, thousands of small objects that had appeared dormant suddenly came to life. The trap was set. Now, it was time to show the Altarians why they should never have underestimated humanity. Thousands of small objects suddenly came to life throughout the asteroid belt. Each one was about the size of a small car, shaped like a flattened diamond with 4 retractable wings. They had been designed to look like standard mining equipment when inactive. Now, as their systems powered up, they revealed their true purpose. In the lunar command bunker, General Collins watched as the tactical display lit up with thousands of green dots. Each dot represented a combat drone, now moving into attack formations. The room fell silent as everyone focused on their tasks. "All drone squadrons report full activation," Lieutenant Powell announced. "No detection by Altarian sensors yet." Dr. Ferris nervously checked his tablet. "Power signatures are still within stealth parameters. They won't see us coming until it's too late." Collins nodded. "Deploy as planned. Target their rear support vessels first." The drones moved silently through space, their advanced stealth technology hiding them from standard detection methods. They formed into swarm patterns, Each group of 50 drones controlled by an advanced AI system that could react faster than any human pilot. On the bridge of his flagship, Warlord Krazithar prepared to deliver a crushing blow to the human fleet. He felt almost disappointed at how easy this conquest would be. "Target their command vessel," he ordered. "Once their leader falls, the rest will surrender quickly." "As you command, Warlord," his weapons officer replied. Weapons locked on human command ship. "Fire when ready," Krazithar said with a dismissive wave of his hand. Before the weapons officer could comply, an alarm sounded on the tactical station. The Altarian sensor officer looked confused as he checked his readings. "Warlord, I'm detecting multiple small objects approaching from the asteroid belt," he reported. Krazithar frowned. "Mining drones? Ignore them. Focus on the warships." "But sir, they're moving in attack formations," the officer insisted. "Hundreds, no, thousands of them." "Impossible," Krazithar growled. "Humans don't have that technology. It must be a sensor malfunction." That was when the first wave of drones struck the rear of the Altarian fleet. Each drone carried specialized weapons designed specifically to counter Altarian defenses. They attacked in perfect coordination, focusing on communications arrays and sensor nodes. 3 Altarian support ships suddenly lost power as precision energy beams cut through their shield generators. The ships drifted helplessly as more drones swarmed around them, disabling weapon systems and engines. Krazithar's ship shook as alarms blared across the bridge. "What is happening?" he demanded. "We're under attack from all sides." His tactical officer reported panic in his voice. "Small craft moving too fast for our targeting systems." "That's impossible." Krazithar slammed his fist on his command chair. "No species uses drone technology at this scale." On the UES Defender, Admiral Hayes watched as the first phase of the attack unfolded. The Altarian fleet was thrown into confusion as their neat formation collapsed under the drone assault. "It's working," Commander Mitchell observed. "Their rear guard is completely disoriented." Hayes nodded. "General Collins has trained her. Teams well. Now for our part." He opened a channel to all human ships. "All vessels prepare to advance. Target their command ships while the drones keep their defenses busy." Earth-17 warships began to move in perfect formation. They had been positioned to look like a defensive screen, but now they shifted into an attack pattern. Each captain knew exactly what to do, having practiced this maneuver countless times in simulation. In her command center, General Collins directed the drone swarms with the precision of a conductor leading an orchestra. Each group had specific targets and objectives, creating maximum chaos in the enemy fleet. Squad 7, focus on their communications. "Ships," she ordered. "Squads 10 through 15 continue harassment of their destroyer-class vessels." Dr. Ferris monitored the performance of his creations with growing confidence. "The attack algorithms are working perfectly. They can't track our drones with their standard targeting systems." "And the drones' learning networks?" Collins asked. "Adapting in real time," Ferris replied. "Each drone is sharing tactical data with the others. They're learning the Altarians' response patterns and adjusting accordingly." On the main view screen, they could see the Altarian fleet trying to regroup. Several of their larger ships had formed a defensive circle, concentrating their firepower outward. "They're bunching up," Powell noted. "Just as we predicted." Collins nodded. "Perfect. Initiate Phase 2. A new wave of drones activated, these equipped with different weapon systems. While the first wave had focused on disabling communications and sensors, these new drones carried EMP weapons designed to penetrate shields and disable electronic systems. In the Global Defense Command Center on Earth, President Bennett and her advisors watched the battle unfold. The large tactical display showed the chaotic Altarian fleet contrasted with the precise movements of the human forces. "The Altarians are trying to regroup," Secretary Nash observed. "Their training is good, but they've never faced an attack like this before." "How are our conventional ships holding up?" Bennett asked. "Minimal damage reported," Nash replied. "The Altarians are too busy dealing with the drone swarms to mount an effective counterattack." On the Altarian flagship, Krazithar struggled to regain control of the situation. His bridge was filled with the sounds of alarms and frantic reports from his officers. "Shields failing on decks 5 through 9, one officer called out. "Communication. With the third battle group lost," another reported. "Targeting systems cannot lock onto these drones," a third added in frustration. Krasithar snarled in anger. "Redirect all power to forward shields. Prepare for ramming speed." His second-in-command looked shocked. "Ramming speed? Against what target, Warlord?" "Their command ship," Krasithar replied. "If we can eliminate their leader, we can still win this day." The massive Altarian flagship turned ponderous, its engines glowing bright as it built up speed. But the human drones had anticipated this desperate move. Hundreds of them converged on the flagship, targeting its engine housings and power distribution nodes with surgical precision. Admiral Hayes watched calmly as the Altarian flagship struggled against the swarm of drones. "They're getting desperate," he noted. "Prepare all ships for Phase 3. The 17 human warships moved into their final attack position, forming a spear formation aimed at the heart of the Altarian fleet. Each ship was now flanked by hundreds of drones, working in perfect coordination with their larger counterparts. In the Lunar Command Center, General Collins received a priority message from Admiral Hayes. "The Admiral is requesting fire support for the final push," Powell reported. Collins nodded. "All drone groups converge on these coordinates. Clear a path for our warships." The drone swarms responded immediately, shifting from harassment tactics to concentrated assault. They created a corridor through the Altarian fleet, drawing enemy fire away from the approaching human warships. Dr. Ferris checked his systems readout and frowned. "We're losing drones faster now. The Altarians are adapting their targeting systems." "Expected casualties are within acceptable parameters," Collins replied. "We only need to keep them busy for a few more minutes." On the bridge of the Defender, Hayes prepared for the final phase of the battle. All ships arm primary weapons target the Altarian command vessels. Earth's warships accelerated toward their targets, weapons charged and ready. The Altarians had dismissed these ships as insignificant, but now they would learn their mistake. Each human vessel carried advanced weaponry that had been kept powered down until this moment. As the two fleets closed for direct combat, Krasithar finally understood the truth. The humans had never intended to match the Altarians ship for ship. Instead, they had created an entirely different approach to space warfare, one based on swarm tactics and coordination rather than brute force. "All ships, evasive maneuvers," he ordered frantically. "Target those human warships with everything." "We have." But it was too late. The human fleet and their drone squadrons had already achieved what they set out to do. The real battle for Earth's survival was now entering its most critical phase. The space between Earth and Mars had become a battlefield unlike any seen before in the galaxy. The once organized Altarian fleet was now scattered, their formations broken by the relentless attacks of thousands of human drones. Explosions lit up the darkness of space as ships on both sides exchanged fire. Admiral Hayes stood calmly on the bridge of the Defender as his ship led the human warships toward the heart of the enemy fleet. His 17 ships now moved with purpose, no longer pretending to be a weak defensive line. "All ships report weapons at full power," Commander Mitchell announced. "The Altarians are trying to regroup around their flagship." Hayes nodded. "Good. That makes our job easier." He opened a channel to all human ships. "This is Admiral Hayes. Execute attack pattern Delta. Focus fire on their command vessels." The human warships broke formation, each targeting a specific Altarian command ship. The Defender headed straight for Krasithar's flagship, its weapons powering up to full capacity. On the Altarian flagship, chaos reigned. The bridge was filled with smoke from damaged systems, and emergency lights flashed as the crew struggled to respond to the unexpected attack. "How is this possible?" Krasithar demanded, his scales darkening with rage. "They are using technologies we thought beyond their capabilities." "The drones are unlike anything in our records," his science officer reported. "They use distributed computing networks that allow them to function as a single entity. We've never seen this approach to combat before." And their warships? Krazathar asked, glaring at the tactical display where the human fleet was now closing in. They were running at minimal power earlier, the science officer explained. Now they're showing energy signatures 3 times what we initially detected. They deliberately masked their true capabilities. Krazathar slammed his fist on his command. Chair. All ships concentrate fire on their lead vessel. We will crush their admiral and end this humiliation. 5 Altarian battlecruisers turned to face the defender, their massive weapons charging. They fired simultaneously, creating a wall of energy that streaked toward the human flagship. Incoming fire, the defender's tactical officer warned. Impact, in 3 seconds. Evasive maneuvers, Hayes ordered calmly. Deploy countermeasures. The defender banked sharply, avoiding the brunt of the attack. What energy did hit the ship was absorbed by advanced shield technology that the Altarians had never encountered before. Shields holding at 87%, the tactical officer reported. Hayes nodded. Return fire. Full spread. The defender's weapon systems came fully online for the first time, revealing their true power. Multiple beams of concentrated energy shot out, each targeting a different system on the nearest Altarian cruiser. The alien ship's shields flared, bright blue, then collapsed entirely as the precisely targeted attack overloaded specific shield generators. In the Lunar Command Center, General Collins watched the battle unfold with intense focus. Her drone forces were taking losses now as the Altarians adapted their tactics, but they had already achieved their primary objective of breaking up the enemy formation. Drone Groups 7 through 12 begin Phase 3, she ordered. Focus on their weapons systems. Give our ships the openings they need. Dr. Ferris looked up from his station. We've lost nearly 20% of the drones, but the remaining units are functioning at full capacity. We expected losses, Collins replied. But each drone is doing the work of a ship's crew. It's a trade we can afford to make. The tactical display showed hundreds of drones converging on key Altarian vessels, targeting weapons arrays and propulsion systems with precision strikes. Unlike the human ships, the Altarian vessels weren't designed to fight small, agile attackers. Their point defense systems were overwhelmed by the sheer number of targets. President Bennett watched from the Earth Command Center as the battle shifted in humanity's favor. The large tactical display showed the Altarian fleet's cohesion continuing to deteriorate, while the human forces operated with precision and coordination. The drone strategy is working better than we hoped, Secretary Nash observed. The Altarians simply don't know how to counter this kind of attack. Bennett nodded. This is why we invested so heavily in Dr. Ferris's program instead of building more capital ships. The Altarians expect us to fight the way they do. They never imagined we would take a completely different approach. One of the aides approached with an urgent message. Madam President, we're receiving transmissions from several other alien civilizations. They're watching the battle through long-range sensors. This conflict is being observed throughout the sector. Bennett's expression remained neutral, but inwardly she smiled. This was part of the plan too. Earth needed to show the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. Back in space, the battle had entered a critical phase. 3 Altarian destroyers had been completely disabled, and several others were struggling with damaged systems, but the bulk of their fleet was still operational, and they were beginning to adapt their tactics. They're changing their shield frequencies, Commander Mitchell reported on the Defender's bridge. Our weapons are becoming less effective. Hayes had anticipated this. Signal General Collins time to deploy the Phase 4 drones. In the lunar bunker, Collins received the message and immediately gave new orders. Activate reserve drone squadrons. Deploy with Phase 4 protocols. A fresh wave of drones emerged from hiding places throughout the asteroid belt. These were different from the earlier models, equipped with more advanced weapons and countermeasures, specifically designed to adapt to Altarian defensive changes. Dr. Ferris monitored their deployment closely. Phase 4 drones operating at optimal levels. Their adaptive algorithms are working perfectly. The new drone squadrons moved with even greater coordination than the earlier waves, their tactical AIs having learned from the ongoing battle. They targeted the Altarian ships with uncanny precision, striking at newly identified vulnerabilities. Krazathar watched in growing horror as his fleet's advantage continued to erode. He had begun this battle with absolute confidence in victory. Now he was facing the very real possibility of defeat. "Warlord," his communications officer called out. "The third battle group reports they cannot hold position. Their engines are disabled." "The fifth group has lost weapons control," another officer added. "They're being swarmed by these cursed drones." Krasathar's four eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. The human flagship was now approaching his vessel directly, escorted by hundreds of drones that cleared a path through his defenses. "Divert all power to forward shields and weapons," he ordered. "If we can destroy their admiral, we can still win this." His tactical officer looked doubtful but followed orders. The flagship's remaining weapons powered up, targeting the approaching defender. Admiral Hayes saw the Altarian flagship preparing for a final confrontation. "They're concentrating their defenses forward," Mitchell reported. "Seems the warlord wants a direct engagement." Hayes smiled slightly. "Then let's not disappoint him. All weapons prepare to fire on my mark." The two flagships closed on each other, like ancient warriors preparing for single combat. Around them, the larger battle continued as human ships and drones systematically disabled the Altarian fleet. "Incoming transmission from the Altarian flagship," Lieutenant Rodriguez announced. "On screen," Hayes ordered. Warlord Krazathar appeared, his bridge darkened by emergency lighting and damage. His scales had darkened to an almost black color, a sign of extreme anger in his species. "How?" he demanded without preamble. "How did your primitive species develop this technology?" Hayes met the alien's gaze steadily. "We're not primitive, Warlord, we're just different. You measure advancement by the size of your ships and the power of your weapons. We focused on innovation and adaptation instead." "Impossible," Krazathar insisted. "No species has mastered drone swarm technology at this scale." "No species you've encountered before," Hayes corrected him. "But then, you've never fought humans until today." The transmission cut off as the Altarian flagship fired its main weapons. The battle had reached its decisive moment. The main weapons of the Altarian flagship fired, sending a massive energy beam toward the defender. The beam cut through space, a blinding purple light that seemed unstoppable. "Evasive action," Hayes ordered sharply. The defender responded instantly, its engines firing at full power. The human ship rolled to the side, avoiding a direct hit. The edge of the beam still caught the ship's port side, causing the entire vessel to shake violently. "Damage report," Hayes demanded, steadying himself against his command chair. "Shields down to 40% on the port side," the tactical officer replied. "Minor damage to decks 3 and 4. No casualties." Hayes nodded. "Return fire. Target." "Their main weapon systems." The defender's weapons came to life, multiple beams striking the Altarian flagship with surgical precision. Each beam targeted a specific weapons array, overwhelming the shields in those exact locations. On the Altarian flagship, Krazathar watched in disbelief as his ship's main weapons went offline one by one. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Their targeting should not be this precise. They seem to know exactly where our shield generators are located," his tactical officer replied. "It's as if they studied our ship designs in detail." Krazathar's eyes widened in realization. The drone attacks weren't just harassment. They were scanning our ships, sending data back to their fleet. Around the two flagships, the larger battle had turned decisively in humanity's favor. The human warships worked in perfect coordination with the drone swarms, systematically disabling the Altarian vessels. It wasn't a battle of destruction, but of precision disabling, taking out key systems while leaving the ships largely intact. In the Lunar Command Center, General Collins received reports of their growing success. 60% of the Altarian fleet has been neutralized, Lieutenant Powell reported. Their remaining ships are falling back to defensive positions. Dr. Ferris looked up from his station. The Phase 4 drones are performing beyond expectations. They're adapting to Altarian countermeasures faster than the Altarians can deploy them. Collins nodded with satisfaction. This is working even better than our simulations predicted. Signal Admiral Hayes that he's clear to move on the flagship. In Earth's command center, President Bennett and her advisors watched as the tide of battle continued to shift. The Altarians are attempting to regroup around their flagship, Secretary Nash observed, but they're clearly on the defensive now. And our losses? Bennett asked. Minimal, Nash replied. 2 ships with moderate damage. Drone losses at 30%, but that's well within acceptable parameters. One of the aides approached with an update. Madam President, we're receiving more transmissions from other civilizations. Word of the battle is spreading throughout the sector. Several species who have suffered under Altarian aggression are particularly interested in the outcome. Bennett nodded. This was an important moment not just for Earth's security, but for its standing in the galactic community. Make sure our long-range communications are capturing everything. The galaxy needs to see what happens when someone threatens Earth. Back in space, Admiral Hayes prepared for the final phase of the battle. The Defender and 3 other human warships had surrounded the Altarian flagship, while the rest of the human fleet continued to disable the remaining enemy vessels. The flagship's main weapons are offline, Commander Mitchell reported. Their shields are failing on multiple sections. Hayes nodded. Open a channel to Warlord Krasthar. When the Altarian commander appeared on screen, his once proud bearing was now replaced with barely controlled fury. Smoke filled his bridge, and damage reports could be heard in the background. Are you ready to discuss terms, Warlord? Hayes asked calmly. Terms? Krasthar spat the word. The Altarian Empire does not surrender. This isn't about surrender, Hayes replied. This is about recognition of reality. Your fleet is disabled. Your weapons are offline. You can either leave this system peacefully, or we can continue until there's nothing left of your ships but debris. Krasathar's scales darkened further. You think you've won? This is one fleet. The Empire has hundreds more. When word of this reaches our homeworld, they will send a force that will turn your planet to ash. Hayes remained unfazed. Before you make threats, you might want to check your long-range communications. Confusion flickered across the Altarian's face. He turned to his communications officer who worked frantically at his station. Warlord, the officer said hesitantly, our communications have been compromised. All our battle records, they're being transmitted across open channels. Throughout the sector, for the first time, real fear showed in Krasthar's eyes. What? Stop the transmissions immediately. We can't, the officer replied. The signal is being relayed through thousands of small devices. I think they're disabled drones, sir. Each one is broadcasting our defeat. Hayes allowed himself a small smile. That's right, Warlord. Every civilized world in this sector is watching as your mighty fleet is disabled by our small forces. The mystique of Altarian invincibility ends today. In the Lunar Command Center, General Collins supervised the final phase of their plan. The drone control screens showed hundreds of disabled drones strategically placed throughout the battlefield. Each one was now serving as a communications relay, broadcasting the battle to the wider galaxy. All relay drones functioning at optimal capacity, Lieutenant Powell reported. The broadcast is reaching at least 17 systems. Dr. Ferris nodded in satisfaction. The communication arrays are working perfectly. Even destroyed drones are continuing to transmit. That was the idea, Collins replied. We knew from the beginning that some drones would be lost. We designed them to serve a purpose even after they were disabled. On the Defender's bridge, Hayes watched as Krasthar struggled with the implications of what was happening. You understand now, don't you? Hayes said. This battle was never just about defending Earth. It was about sending a message to your empire and every other aggressive species in the galaxy. Humanity will not be an easy conquest. Krasthar stared at Hayes with a mixture of rage and grudging respect. You planned this from the beginning. You wanted us to attack. We planned for the possibility, Hayes corrected. We hoped diplomacy would prevail, but we prepared for the alternative. Now I'll ask again. Are you ready to discuss terms? The Altarian commander seemed to age before their eyes, his posture slumping slightly. "What are your terms?" "Simple. You will withdraw all forces from Earth's solar system immediately. You will acknowledge humanity's sovereign claim to this system and all its resources. And you will carry a message back to your empire. Earth is not to be threatened again." Krazathar was silent for a long moment. Around his flagship, the last of his fleet's resistance was being systematically neutralized by the human drones. "The Altarian Empire has never before granted such terms," he said finally. "But it seems we have little choice. I accept your conditions." Hayes nodded. "Wise decision, Warlord. You may gather your disabled ships and depart our system. We will provide navigational data to assist ships with damaged systems." After the transmission ended, Commander Mitchell approached Hayes. "Do you think they'll honor the agreement, sir?" Hayes looked at the tactical display, showing the remnants of the once mighty Altarian fleet. "They'll honor it, not out of respect for the agreement, but because now they know what awaits them if they return." Throughout the solar system, the human forces began the process of victory. Damaged ships were repaired, and functioning drones were recalled for maintenance. The battle was over, but its impact would echo throughout the galaxy for years to come. In her command center, General Collins allowed her staff a moment of celebration before focusing on the work ahead. "Begin recovery of all salvageable drones," she ordered, "and prepare a full analysis of combat data. We need to learn everything we can from this encounter." Dr. Ferris looked up from his station with a tired smile. 3 years of work, and it paid off beyond our expectations." "It did," Collins agreed, "but this is just the beginning. The galaxy now knows about humanity for better or worse. We need to be ready for whatever comes next." 2 weeks after the battle, Earth had become the center of attention in the galaxy. The remaining Altarian ships had departed the solar system, limping home with their pride wounded far more than their vessels. News of humanity's victory had spread to dozens of star systems, and the responses were beginning to arrive. Admiral Hayes stood at the large window in Earth's orbital diplomatic station, watching as yet another alien ship arrived. This one belonged to the Zentari, a species that had suffered under Altarian expansion for generations. "That's the 5th diplomatic mission this week," Commander Mitchell said, joining Hayes at the window. "Word of our victory is spreading faster than we anticipated." Hayes nodded. The Altarians made sure everyone knew about their conquests. Now everyone knows about their defeat. The two officers watched as the sleek Zentari vessel docked with the station. Unlike the massive, intimidating ships of the Altarians, Centauri craft were elegant and streamlined, reflecting their more peaceful culture. "Are you ready for the council meeting?" Mitchell asked. "As ready as I'll ever be," Hayes replied. "I'm an admiral, not a diplomat." Mitchell smiled. "After what you did to the Altarian fleet, I think you've earned the right to be both." In the station's main conference room, President Bennett greeted the latest arrivals. Representatives from 7 different alien civilizations had gathered, with more expected in the coming days. "Ambassador Kelnar," Bennett said, extending her hand to the Zentari leader. "Welcome to Earth space." The Zentari was tall and slender, with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes. He bowed slightly before taking Bennett's hand in the human gesture they had studied. "The honor is ours, President Bennett," Kelnar replied. "For decades, the Zentari have suffered under Altarian aggression. No one has ever defeated their fleet so thoroughly." Bennett gestured to the seats around the large circular table. "Please join us. Admiral Hayes and General Collins will be presenting the details of our defense strategy." As the various ambassadors took their seats, General Collins entered with Dr. Ferris. They had brought detailed holographic models of the drone technology that had won the battle. "Dr. Ferris," Bennett said, "would you like to begin the presentation?" The engineer looked nervous facing so many alien dignitaries, but he stepped forward with determination. "The key to our defense system is not power but adaptability," he began. "Each drone is relatively simple on its own, but together they form a complex learning network." As Ferris spoke, holographic images appeared above the table, showing the drones in action during the battle. The alien representatives watched with intense interest, particularly when the presentation showed how the drones had learned and adapted to Altarian countermeasures in real time. "Remarkable," said the Tellarite ambassador, a stocky being with rough, rocky skin. "Our scientists theorized such systems, but we never implemented them at this scale. We had no choice," Collins explained. "We knew we couldn't match the Altarians ship for ship. We had to find a different approach." In another part of the station, Admiral Hayes walked with Ambassador Kelnar. The Zentari had requested a private conversation after the main presentation. "Your victory has changed the balance of power in this sector," Kelnar said. "The Altarians have dominated through fear for centuries. Now that fear is broken." Hayes nodded. "We didn't set out to become a galactic power. We just wanted to protect our home. Sometimes the most significant changes come from those who never sought them," Kelnar observed. "My government has authorized me to propose a formal alliance between our peoples." Hayes raised an eyebrow. "An alliance? That's something President Bennett would need to consider." "Of course," Kelnar agreed. "But I wanted to speak with you first, Admiral. You are the one who defeated the undefeatable. Your insight would be valuable." Hayes considered this. "The defeat of one Altarian fleet won't end their aggression. They'll be back, probably with a larger force." "Precisely," Kelnar said. "But they will not face Earth alone. The Zentari are skilled in shields and stealth technology. Combined with your drone systems, we could create defenses that even the Altarian Empire would hesitate to challenge." Meanwhile, in the Lunar Command Center, work continued without pause. The victory had bought Earth time, but everyone knew it was temporary. The Altarians would not accept defeat easily. Lieutenant Powell approached General Collins with a data tablet. "The first production run of improved drones is complete, General. Dr. Ferris's team has incorporated everything we learned from the battle." Collins nodded. "Good. Begin deployment throughout the asteroid belt. I want our defenses stronger than before by the end of the month." Dr. Ferris looked up from his workstation. "We've received technology exchange proposals from 3 different alien civilizations," he reported. "The Zentari shield systems would integrate well with our drone design." "Review them all," Collins ordered. "But remember, we maintain control of our core technology. We'll share, but carefully." Back on Earth, in the Global Defense Command Center, Secretary Nash briefed President Bennett on the latest intelligence. "The Altarians have recalled fleets from 2 other systems," he reported. "They appear to be consolidating their forces." Bennett's expression remained calm, but her eyes showed concern. "Preparing for a counterattack?" "Possibly," Nash replied. "But there's something else. We're detecting significant political unrest within the Altarian Empire. Several subjugated worlds are using our victory as inspiration for resistance movements." "That was unexpected," Bennett said. "Perhaps it shouldn't have been," Nash suggested. "Empires like theirs rely on the perception of invincibility. Once that's broken, everything changes." At the diplomatic station, the council meeting had concluded, and Admiral Hayes found himself surrounded by alien representatives, all eager to speak with the man who had defeated the Altarians. "Admiral," called the Meridian ambassador, a being composed of what looked like liquid crystal, "my government wishes to discuss exchange of tactical doctrine. The Volturi Confederation would be interested in drone production rights," added another representative. Hayes held up his hands. "I appreciate your interest, but these are matters for our diplomatic corps. I'm just a military officer who did his job." Commander Mitchell, standing nearby, suppressed a smile. Hayes had never been comfortable with attention, but he would need to get used to it. Earth's successful defense had transformed the Admiral into a galactic figure overnight. As the station rotated, Earth came into view through the large observation window. From this distance, it looked peaceful and untouched, giving no hint of how close it had come to destruction. "Quite a view," said a voice beside Hayes. He turned to see Dr. Ferris, who had apparently escaped from his own group of admirers. "It is," Hayes agreed. "Worth protecting." Ferris nodded. When I designed those drones, I never imagined they would change our place in the galaxy. That's often how history works, Hayes replied. Small things with big consequences. Across the room, President Bennett concluded a conversation with several ambassadors and joined Hayes and Ferris at the window. Gentlemen, she said, I believe congratulations are in order. The Galactic Council has formally invited Earth to join as a full member world. Hayes raised an eyebrow. That was fast. We've only been in contact with these civilizations for a few years. Defeating the Altarians changed everything, Bennett explained. Suddenly humanity is seen as a valuable ally. Our technology, our approaches to problems, they're different from what most species have tried. Different but effective, Ferris added. Indeed, Bennett agreed. The Council was particularly impressed by how we turned our limitations into strengths. We couldn't build a fleet to match the Altarians ship for ship, so we created something entirely new. As they talked, more ships arrived at the station. Representatives from worlds across the sector, all eager to meet with the species that had done the impossible. Hayes looked out at the stars, thinking about the future. The victory had been significant, but it was only the beginning. Humanity had announced its presence to the galaxy in the most dramatic way possible. There would be new challenges, new threats, and new opportunities. But for now, one thing was certain. No one would ever laugh at a human fleet again.